Today, we are jumping straight into one of the absolute best, most fascinating mysteries out there. We're going to literally sift through the actual timeline, the direct source material of the world's most enigmatic lake creature, the Loch Ness Monster. Let's see what the historical evidence and the real eyewitness accounts actually tell us. Okay, let's dive into this. Just listen to this description. A terrible, dark elephant gray, a hybrid between a plesiosaur and a seal. I mean, these aren't the words of fantasy writers, right? These are striking, almost panicked descriptions pulled straight from everyday people who suddenly found themselves face to face with the impossible. The sheer strangeness of these reports is exactly what makes this subject so incredibly compelling for us to analyze. Chapter 1: The Ancient Lake Legend. So, to truly grasp why this legend is just so deeply rooted, we have to look at the timeline. Now, keep in mind, sea serpents and lake monsters are reported globally, from the icy waters of Siberia all the way to the highlands of Scotland. But Loch Ness, it holds a completely unique place in history. It isn't just some fleeting rumor. It's a deeply anchored mystery where crowds of up to 200 people have reportedly witnessed the inexplicable at the exact same time. And what's wild is that this lore doesn't just start in the age of blurry photography. No, it goes way back to AD 565 with the Irish Saint Columba. That's the very first recorded report. From there, the timeline escalates dramatically into the 20th century, moving from historical whispers to mass sightings and terrifying close calls. Let's break down these pivotal moments.
Chapter 2: Shocking Encounters on Land.
Moving into the 1930s, the narrative takes a totally wild turn. This aquatic mystery suddenly and shockingly spilled over onto dry land. A lake monster is one thing, but one blocking your car? That completely changes the parameters. On the afternoon of July 22nd, 1933, Mr. and Mrs. George Spicer were enjoying a nice, relaxing Scottish drive near the little town of Foyers. Suddenly, the tension broke. About 200 yards ahead of them, the plants on the hillside violently thrashed, and out from the brush came this enormous, long-necked hulk. Moving in this jerky, super unsettling way, the massive creature crossed the narrow road right in front of them. Mr. Spicer actually stepped on the gas to get a closer view, but by the time they reached the spot, the creature had lumbered through the bushes and totally vanished into the loch. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the physical descriptions evolve when we compare these major land sightings. In 1933, the Spicers described a beast 25 to 30 feet long, lumbering about 4 feet high, a dark gray, snail-like creature with a neck that undulated like a scenic railway. But then, just months later, Arthur Grant described something totally different. A creature 18 to 20 feet long with an eel-like head, flipper-like legs, and dark skin rather like a whale's. It's an absolutely incredible contrast in eyewitness perception, and it's something we have to document when examining this source material neutrally. And that brings us right to Arthur Grant's specific experience. It was the brightly moonlit night of January 5th, 1934. Grant, who was a young medical student, was riding his motorcycle at 1 a.m. near Loch End. The road was quiet, deeply shadowed by thick brush. As he approached some bushes, a large, dark blob suddenly bounded across the road. He literally almost collided head-on with it. In that stark, bright moonlight, he got a terrifyingly close look at a massive, fleshy body before it frantically splashed into the icy water. Grant was so stunned that he actually leaped off his machine and followed the creature as it loped rapidly away toward the water. He later drew a sketch of it and noted, "I can say that I have never seen anything in my life like the animal I saw. It looked like a hybrid, a cross between a plesiosaur and a member of the seal family." Imagine the absolute adrenaline he must have felt in that exact moment, standing all alone in the dark by the edge of the loch. Chapter 3: The Search for Proof. As we transition out of those frantic, almost chaotic eyewitness accounts of the 1930s, the narrative tone really starts to shift. By the time we reach the 1960s, the world wanted more than just stories, right? They wanted actual evidence. The approach became much more methodical and calculated. Enter Tim Dinsdale in the spring of 1960. Dinsdale was actually a very doubtful man regarding the Loch Ness Monster, but he decided to bring some real scientific rigor to the shores of the loch. He traveled all the way from Reading, England, heavily equipped with camping gear and a 16mm movie camera for a completely dedicated, calculated stakeout. And the dedication required for this kind of work, it's immense. Dinsdale spent all of 6 straight days purely watching and waiting for the creature. Just think about that. 6 days of staring at the vast, often turbulent gray surface of the loch, prepared for an event that might never even happen at all. Well, on April 23rd, his very last day of surveillance, his patience finally paid off. Looking out across the water from a small hillock, he spotted a motionless object. Through his binoculars, from a distance of exactly 1,300 yards, he identified a distinct mahogany-colored shape with a dark blotch on its left side. And then, slowly, it began to move. So the crucial point is what happened next. Dinsdale immediately turned to his camera. For a distance of 500 yards, he tracked this shape as it zigzagged across the loch, submerging and resurfacing in its own wake. Capturing this 500-yard pursuit on his 16mm film resulted in an incredibly exciting piece of footage that beautifully matched so many of those previous eyewitness descriptions. And the historical impact was huge. It was so compelling that it actually persuaded at least one highly skeptical scientist that there was indeed something unaccountable and totally worth searching for in that water. Chapter 4. Awe of the Inexplicable. Now, while scientific proof is definitely one way to view this mystery, there's a deeper, almost philosophical, emotional layer to these encounters. Picture this scene for a second. It's October 14th, 1971. Father Gregory Bruzy, who's described in our sources as a man completely unshakable in his faith, is standing with a visitor. They are simply enjoying the peaceful, serene view of the loch from the beautifully manicured grounds of the Benedictine Abbey at Fort Augustus. It's just a moment of total tranquility. Let's move to and see how this builds, because that piece is shattered instantly. First, a sudden, violent movement erupts in the quiet waters. Then, a great beast looms before them just 300 yards away. Staggeringly, the creature rears its heavy head as much as 7 feet above the surface. For a full 20 seconds, the two men stand there totally frozen, hardly believing their own eyes, as the massive beast slowly swims away before silently submerging again. What makes this encounter so profoundly special, though, is Father Gregory's reaction. His friend actually admitted he probably would have run away if he'd been alone, but Father Gregory reflected on it totally differently. He said, "We felt a sort of awe and amazement, not from a sense of personal danger, rather from a sense of the inexplicable. It gave us a feeling of something from another world." It really challenges us to think differently, doesn't it? Maybe this phenomenon isn't about horror or fear at all, but about the profound majesty of encountering something completely beyond human understanding. And perhaps that right there is the core of this entire phenomenon. The Loch Ness Monster has simply not ceased to interest people. Decade after decade, from 6th century saints all the way to 20th century scientists, the allure remains. The sheer endurance of it is staggering. The fact that this creature has been seen repeatedly, sometimes even returning daily as if giving everyone in the neighborhood a chance to view it, well, that ensures that this legend stays incredibly alive in our collective imagination. Which leaves us with a lingering thought to close out our explainer today. Is the true magic of Loch Ness found in the biological reality of the beast itself, or is it actually found in our endless human desire for the unexplained? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for exploring this mystery with me today. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next one.